Welcome to Chilling Under Pressure. This is Joe,
I'm Adam.
One less.
and today we're just going back over some 15-pound rules, some regulations that are coming out. We're happy to have Adam here. They're sponsored by FM Hero.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, nice.
we don't.
So-
I'm sporting
and-
gear too.
So there we go.
But
What do you got
these are
today?
just like small little changes
Yeah.
that came with the AMAC the industry. This is probably why
Small.
it's not real prevalent yet. They're just small, minor changes. Doesn't
Yeah.
have much effect. Is that right, Adam?
Yeah, it's tiny. There's no. I mean, really, actually, we don't need this episode. There's not much going on. No. We don't usually do this. We don't dive heavy into regulation. We tend to bring on guests who have some history in the industry, who have got cool things going on. I just think like we sought out in Chill Under Pressure to bring humanity back to the industry, not back to it, but like to help people see behind the scenes of these companies and these organizations that they see out there, who these people are that are leading them, what they're about, and that they're real people. So making us human, right? People like to do business with people. We want to help the industry in that way. So rather than just thinking big corporate. So this time though, we've been working on. We got some white papers coming out that we'll provide to anybody who would like them. We're going to hit them with our in our email list, and so we'll put them on our LinkedIn, and we can even attach them depending on the platform you're looking at for this video. We can attach them there too, so you can see. So this is kind of oriented toward the contractor and equipment owner. But there's some stuff going on that people we've found really have no idea. And so I just said, guys, we got to like pause the norm and just dive into some regs real quick. So if you're listening to this and you're a contractor or a technician or an equipment owner or a reclaimer or a wholesaler or a scrapper, if you or anybody in your organization touch refrigerant, these regulations apply to you. Because we're getting a lot of oh no, that's the technician, they have to do it. Oh no, that's the equipment owner, they have to do it.
Well, someone just told us, well, we put all our stuff in Carbon, California, so we're good.
Yeah, we just upload stuff to CARB, so therefore we're okay.
Right.
That's not. That doesn't make you. That
That make you federally
compliant.
And it might not even make you CARB compliant.
Right.
In fact, it probably doesn't, but that's a whole nother conversation too.
Yeah.
So if we're gonna stick mostly with Fed. There's some stuff going on in the states too. We have to know these things. As FM Hero, we're a platform for management compliance. So
If we were to break that down, right, you got the people look at them like they're two separate things, but the states are just a more restrictive version of the Fed. So,
Mhm.
I mean, that's one way to look at it. Is we've got these federal regulations,
that's the
Sure.
minimum.
minimum standards, and if you're in a state that has their own standards as well, just know it's stricter than what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, this
And
is
you
the
can
minimum.
reach out. We're talking about the bare minimum, right?
So I want to give a little bit of a kind of a precursor before we dive into some of the key topics. One is this. So I've heard that from folks that, well, AMAC does this, and that's AIM. The first time I heard this, I thought it was AMAC, like AMAC or something. I'm like, what is it? AMAC? AIM. The American Innovation Manufacturing Act, which, as for everybody's saying, was passed in Trump's first administration. So it's been around a little while. These things have timeline to come into effect so people can react. But anyway, that's something completely different. And then we've got 608. That's the old school, right? So the way this kind of works, and I know there's some walks out there who are going to tell me this isn't technically accurate or whatever, but just for the way I get my head around the way that I picture it is this: you've got the legislature passes a law, 608, AMAC, whatever. It gets signed into law by the president, and then whatever body of the government reads that law and then has to interpret it and turn it into federal regulations. So we have CFRs for this federal government, and so these are the regulations. In this case, DOT has Title 49, Title 4, whatever. You've got all these sections. That's how you fill the Library of Congress. Anyway, you have these sections. So the regulations themselves aren't like 608. They're the regulations that come out of 608. The regulations that come out of AIM Act, right? And so when you recognize that, you go, okay, so the EPA is writing the actual, like, hey, we're going to limit the supply, and we're going to do that over this time. The EPA then writes the regulations and says this is how exactly we're going to do it, who does what, they give definitions for terms like person and technician and reclaimment. Anyway, so if you back up, 608 rules in the rate of Federal Registry have kind of two parts. Okay? It's got the main part, which is procedural. So 608, and it's not 608, but I'm going to call it 608. It's easier to digest for when we're breaking these apart. The 608 portion of the registry has procedural, like how to do a what a certified machine has to look like. What is a certified technician? What is a reclaimer? What all this stuff. And it also has restrictions and regulations on and venting, the procedural. And then it has also rules around how to actually handle ODS systems. So ODS systems are 22 or CFCs and HDs. Okay, they have ozone depleting substance, or ODP, ozone depleting potential. So I'm kind of getting, you hear all these terms, I'm kind of just trying to break this down. So in this, you have these procedural parts, and then you have some of this more strict, like regulatory about these gases that have ozone depletion potential. The AMAC portion in the registry deals with just the HFC portion, like the 608 does, but it doesn't have the procedural because it's leaning on 608's procedural. So the way, if you think about this, it's almost like the procedural part of the 608 is like the head of Mickey Mouse, and then you've got the ODS lobe, which is part of that same role. Then you've got like the AMAC lobe, but they're all interconnected, right? So they're not like totally separate things. Like, oh well, according to AIM, I don't have to do that anymore. That's wrong. There's nothing in AIM that tells you don't do something from the old.
It doesn't negate what's been previously stated.
It's added on. These things are interlaced, and they each have a role, but they work together. So that again, that's a kind of a peanut butter approach to understanding like how these rules work. But I wanted to get that out there.
Yeah, great outline.
Yeah. So thank you. So I mean, if you think procedural, and then you think like the technical, actually what we got to do. So one of the things that's happened is in the technical part, there were these rules about systems for equipment owners over a certain size that was 50 pounds or more. You had to do a bunch of additional work. Now, you always never vent, always true, no venting, had to do recovery, had to use certified technicians, gas had to go to reclaimers. Those are all procedural. That's true still. It's true for ODS, it's true for HFCs, it's true for substitutes. Like, you still can't vent stuff. So, right? So you can't vent. Like, those rules that we learned in our Section 608 certification test, those are still viable, all of them. And so it doesn't matter if it's an HFC. You still can't like just vent what's left over in your disposable. You've always been required to recover it.
All the heels.
All
The heels off those disposable units that you carry in your trucks.
That's just an example, sure. But the one that's really got me kind of fired up right now is this 15-pound rule.
You and everybody else.
Well, anybody who's ever read it. That's right. It's a huge difference. So in the past, it was only ODS gases. And so that would be N22, 410A, and 50 pounds or more. And so those things, then if it's a system that had 50 pounds or more, then you had to know all kinds of stuff about it. You had to know where it was, what was in it, how many pounds were in it, what type of cooling was it? Was comfort cooling, industrial process?
Which is why if it would run on 49 pounds, that's all you would
put. Yeah, absolutely. We do this a lot.
Yeah. Absolutely. Do not put 50 pounds in that unit. It will run fine at 49.
If it can run at 51, it can run at 49.
That's right.
And so they would really make sure to never cross that threshold. Well, what changed or what happened, like we call it a change, but the reality is what happened is that the EPA with the new AMAC stuff said, hey, we are going to go down to 15 or more pounds.
Yeah.
Now that happens to only be true of HFC replacement, substitutes, blends, all this stuff. So, honestly, if you're still running a 22 system, you still only have to do 50 pounds or more. If you're still running a 22 system, the scrutiny knob just is getting turned way up by the regulators anyway.
Yeah.
Because they want you to gas.
Right.
So it might be only 50 pounds or more, but you better know that there's a lot more.
It's got a tightening reach on it.
That's right.
So how many pieces of equipment, going back down to 15 pounds and over now, how many pieces of equipment are bringing in to that scope, a regulatory scope?
It's hard to say. So many units. So we were on a roof, I don't know, a month ago doing a site survey with the FM Hero tool.
Yeah.
Right. And none of those units previously required
And now they all.
reporting. And now 80, I think, is like close to 90% of them.
Yeah, I think there was you're right. There were a couple little mini splits up there.
Yep.
That were
Outside of
coming back
that-
in office or whatever.
Yeah. But outside of that, they're now all wrote into the new regulations.
So we were talking, we were at FMI. I think that's where we were when we had this conversation. And somebody had made the comment that they had, I think it was 150 units. So you guys remember who I'm talking
Yes, absolutely.
They had like 150 units or 200 units that they currently have to manage according to the regulations. This was back in the end of 2025.
That's right.
And starting now in January, that they now have 15,000 units. That
So hundreds of thousands of units,
Millions.
breaking it down by industry.
Yep.
We covered technicians, contractors, end users. I mean, these are massive amounts of pieces of equipment coming into the scope of regulation.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, and look, they were always regulated, right?
Sure.
Because they were manufactured meeting a certain criteria. They still had refrigerant in them. You still couldn't vent them. But now they have a heightened scrutiny on them. So previously, if you had a small package unit on the roof, yes, the manufacturer of that equipment had to manufacture according to certain standards. It had to meet, certain energy efficiencies. It had to use a certain kind of refrigerant. It had to have all kinds of stuff. That's still true. But when you now add the service kind of side, so when we're really talking about the service side, there's a whole bunch of stuff about equipment manufacturers and what they can do too, and refrigerant importers. But we're talking about on the service side for contractors and equipment owners. If you've got a machine that's on your building that's doing, cooling something or some people, and it's got 15 pounds or more than likely it's going to be included in this. Now there are exceptions. There's got a GWP of less than 53. So go ahead and go look up your refrigerants with a GWP less than 53. There's not very many, unless they're straight HFOs. Some of those, a good chunk of those are that low. And if you don't know the terms I'm throwing out with HFOs and then your unit probably has the other issue, right? Like you would know you went out and purchased equipment that was going to meet that requirement.
That's right.
Because you would have paid more.
That's right.
If you don't, then give us a call.
Yeah. So you've got that, and then there's a light commercial and residential exclusion. So if it's on a house, it's excluded. If it's light commercial, it's excluded. For the love of all that is holy, there is no explanation as to what light commercial is not defined. They are apparently leaning on the SNAP, New Alternative Programs rules, at least from what I understand, about what the light commercial unit is. But again, there's no actual definition there, so it's their interpretation. Welcome to the government. So here's the thing: if you've got units with more than 15 pounds, and your clients do, if you're a contractor, and they do more than just like sell clothing off a rack, they're probably in this camp. All right. So I don't want to be the one to create the definition for light commercial in this call, but
You want to take that
I don't want to
responsibility?
take the responsibility.
Okay.
But it's silly not to deal with this now. From an economic perspective, what more you have to do, make sure equipment less expensive to operate. If it's got the proper charge, then it's not going to cost so much energy. If you're leak loss rates, you're going to fix leaks. That's going to cost you less than gas. There's less service cost, all kinds of stuff. So realistically, it's not just a regulation issue. It actually makes sense to fix this stuff.
Yeah, we actually talk internally about, if it wasn't for the regulation side and people just looked at the economic side, they'd be all about it.
Yeah.
But because they're afraid of the regulation side, they don't understand it, or they just kind of want to put blinders on and move forward. But it's really just costing you money.
Yeah.
Because just look at it from an economic standpoint and you'll be all in.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, there's a lot of profit opportunity in treating your equipment well. So here's the deal: this 15-pound rule is a big thing. If you think about how many equipment owners never had a regulatory burden before in this area that now do. It is massive. You said how many are there? Hundreds of thousands. I would speculate we're talking in millions, in terms of millions of pieces of equipment. You think about hotels and high-rise buildings, anywhere with a chiller. I mean, all these ice rinks that had already converted over to some other gas that weren't running 22 flooded floors anymore or whatever. The 22 flooded floor that was already regulated. They switched over and they're running a glycol loop with a smaller system and it's got an HFC in it. They were not regulated at this point the same way they are now. The goalposts are getting harder and harder and harder. Our response, I know, it doesn't serve us at all, by the way, to say this. It's not like it makes it easier for us or anything. We're doing more data tracking and more handling. But frankly, the reality is the smart play is just put it all in, protect yourself, track it, know what's going on, know when it's serviced, know when leak it, fix the leaks. Just do that because and with tools like, and I'm not trying to go down the pitch road here for Hero, but with a tool like Hero,
Still under pressure.
right? Like you just think of it, with a tool like Hero, you're not. It's not hard. It's so easy. There's no reason not to do it.
Yeah, and how much is refrigerant per pound a day? But you're like,
I think that goes back to the economic point you were making before. If we can track, now we're talking about leak loss tracking for 15 pounds and over, which is, on its face, it's just mind boggling. How am I going to track 15 pounds? Something that will be able to track. Why not track all the way down all the equipment as it goes through, so you know what's on hand and what you can actually.
You're talking like track you control of profit.
Absolutely. Is that like your slogan?
Hero tagline.
It is a big gap. And I remember back when. I remember back in January 1st, 2019, when 608 was updated, everybody said, "Oh, we can vent HFC, right? Or HFO," and it just seems to that knowledge gap seems to just get pushed. That can keeps pushing down further. Just thank you for bringing that up.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, what you just said is that was, and I'm going to reiterate, this is a really good point. That was a misunderstanding, misrepresentation of what. Oh, there's new rules. Now I don't have to do something.
Yeah.
I don't know when in the history of the United States government we've ever made it less regulated. That is like, I've heard of deregulation in the 80s, but I wasn't really a part of that. I understand that in this industry, it's never gotten less. So the idea that, oh, no, I don't have to, with the exception of EPA at one point grabbed HFCs, got their hands slapped, lost a lawsuit. So it went from being regulated to then very quickly being regulated with the AIM Act. Right. So Congress basically said, oh, well, you slapped the EPA's hand for that. We disagree. We're going to write a law to fix and allow them to do the thing. And so they went right back to it.
Right.
So the 15-pound rule is a really big one. If you think about this as a contractor, how many of your customers don't know that they have a new burden that you can help them understand? Now, if you don't know, ask us. That doesn't mean we're going to force you to buy our product. We're like, just because we're doing this podcast, we'd love for you to use our product. I think if you saw it, you would, of course, use it. Like our other clients. But even if you don't know, you can ask. Just reach out on the podcast, reach out and ask questions, whatnot. But we'd love to help you understand what it is we're in the industry. We want the industry to know. The last thing we want is for good contractors and technicians to get punished because they don't know.
Yeah.
Well, if I was a contractor, I would absolutely be going out and using this as my lead-in. Hey, have you been informed of these new regulations regarding all your equipment over 15 pounds? What are you talking about? Oh, your current contractor hasn't told you about that?
Yeah.
No. Let us help you get in compliance because you do now have a regulatory burden on something like the roof we were on a while back. You didn't have before. Now you do. And if I was an equipment owner, I would be looking for a contractor who was going to keep me out of potential EPA violations and fines if I were to get audited. I would want someone that came in with a knowledge base to tell me and could walk me through that process. And some of it is just getting the units that have never been regulated into your system.
That's right. No. Some is just surveying. What do I have? What's got that burden? What doesn't?
Yeah.
For the contractors, so that's the point. If you don't know, So you're like, I'm not comfortable doing that because I don't know enough. We've got the tools to help you so you can go make more money. And if your client doesn't know and you don't know, putting your head in the sand is not a solution because the EPA historically has spent more time going after, number one place they go after scrap. It's people that are disposing of compliance. Number two is equipment owners, and then contractors, and then wholesale. Like and by the way, all those have been hit. So yeah, we understand that people go, I've never heard of it. Well, that's because you're not looking, and the EPA doesn't go on national television and say we busted another contractor. They don't do that. So you're not, and no contractor goes to the golf course with his buddies and brags about how they just got violated. But it's happening, and it happens. So anyway,
Just like the IRS doesn't go out and put out a release on all the people that they got for tax evasion. But I had a contractor reach out to me a couple weeks ago and say, "Hey, I'm in this conversation with one of our clients. What do you have some information I can put in front of them?" Absolutely. Send them a couple different things. If that does that work for what you're trying to push this go around? Yes. Perfect. And then but we have more coming out. We got some white papers coming out that are specifically geared towards the contractor and they can then specifically geared to the owner, specifically geared to the technician.
So I want to go through kind of quick again on some of these things. So if you have a regulated piece of equipment, contractors are like, oh, well, that's the equipment owner's problem. That's not true. The regulations tell you what you are legally required to provide to your equipment owner, which means your technician, has to document it. And the EPA does this. They say technicians are required to ... And so I've heard contractors say, well, that's not me then. That's the technician. Well, it's really cool to stick your head in the sand and go, oh, that doesn't apply because I'm going to use my own definition for a technician. So just a technician starts with the definition as a person, and then it goes on. And then you got to go, okay, well, what's a person? I know that sounds really obvious. Like, what's a person? It's a human being, right? No, the EPA says, yeah, it's a human being or a corporation or a sole proprietorship or an LLC or a government agency or a tribal council and it goes through the whole, like it literally, like if you think you're not in the list, I guarantee you're in the list.
Yeah. So, and there's some government agencies that need to be brought up to speed on this thing too. So feel free to reach out because you're definitely
Universities.
The EPA goes after I just looked into the list the other day on ECHO. They go after other government agencies. The Navy's been fined. The Department of Justice has been fined. They go after their own. They're like, hey man, we're bloodsuckers. We're gonna get you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We got a bar to meet. We got a bar to meet there.
So a person is now defined, and then it says a technician outside of now a person. So it's a contractor, and it's the human that does it. So it's both the individual doing the work and the company they work for. If they ever open the refrigeration circuit, you can go read these definitions. But essentially, even putting they literally call this out. Putting gauges on counts. So every person who does or has the potential to violate that is a technician.
That's just a call out. So gauges, something that benign.
Yeah.
Just a standard call out, a diagnosis of what's going on with the system could be considered.
Yes.
So
when you have so you're required then to provide this information to your client being the equipment owner. So here's when it's a heightened regulated system, so it's 15 pounds or more, right? You have to provide the equipment location, identity, that would be normally make, model, serial, but it can also include like rack A, RTU3.
Alias.
Yep. The refrigerant type, the full refrigerant type. If you were the one who first recognized the appliance, how was the full refrigerant type or refrigerant weight determined? Was it on the placard? Did I calculate it based on line sizes and component sizes? Did I charge it from empty up? Where did that first initial weight come from? You have to do that. It's a requirement. When you first put a system in play, meaning as of January 1, every 15-pound system in the country that isn't a residential or light commercial is required to do this. So if you haven't done it, you're already in violation. You are now in violation. And so you have to know that. You have to know the installation date. Again, some of these are when the installation occurs, later service. You don't have to keep rewriting it. But at that initial point, you have to provide this. The regulatory class, the comfort, cooling, industrial process, Commercial refrigeration? Is it other? The operational status, is it running? Is it shut down? Is it mothball? So that's just at the outset, just about the piece of machinery.
So you go out to a unit that's got the field charge. There's no factory charge. The field charge, and it's always blank.
Yeah, what industry?
Where's the documentation that says how much refrigerant's in there? Because that's a violation.
It is. Now you can,
It's like that. If you don't have it recorded somewhere, it doesn't have to ring. You have to have it recorded. You have to know what's in that, where the initial charge came from,
that's right.
and what the charge for that system is.
So as an equipment owner, you have to know that.
Yep.
And as a contractor, when you do that install, when you set up that piece of equipment, you're required to provide it. And that's been true all along. It's always been true. You always had to do this. No, people are like, well, I put it on my invoice. Do you put all the stuff I just listed on your invoice? Because if you don't, you're not meeting the requirement. And then on a service call, just so that's like the first time you install it, set the system up, whatnot. On every service call, who did the work? What technician? By the way, the technician who did the install would be required to. The technician performing the work, the location of the equipment, the customer it's done for, the date that the work was done, whether it was service, install, repair, disposal of the appliance, like call up, the parts installed, serviced, repaired, or disposed of. You're required to put it on. You can't just go, we did this work. It's $1,200 units running again. Like, nope, that does not meet the law. The amount of refrigerant added or removed, any leaks inspected, repaired, re-inspected, all have to be like, you have to, this is the repair, this is where it was, this is what I did to fix it, this is how I inspected it after the inspection method. There's a lot. I'm glossing over a lot here, but these are the bare minimum things required.
And time frames too, along with that.
Yeah. And then of course you're right. So if you've done this, there's a certain time clock. So look, we've got a white paper we can share out, but that's not the point. The point is 15-pounder or more units are in. So if you are out there working on this stuff, or you have clients who have it, even if you're not servicing it, you can bring value to them and say, hey, you need to know. And you can give them, we have a white paper for you as a contractor.
Contractor, there's such a huge opportunity
It is.
for you to come in and be the hero for your clients. It's talking to new potential clients.
Yeah.
It's a great lead in, because the number of people who have units with 50 pounds and more, they're out there, but it's not the vast majority. The vast majority are under 50 pounds. Well, guess what? Now they all have this regulatory burden, and they haven't been paying attention, so they don't know. It's your opportunity to bring it to them, to show them how you are going.
A lot of times they don't know what they're up against. It's up to you to inform them. And really, get to the foundation of what the EPA really, really wants is they want that chain of custody. So they don't want that fear pointing anymore. Oh, I gave it to the scrapyard. Oh, I gave it to
All
this guy. Oh, it's a technician. Oh, it's a contractor. Oh, it's the end user. They don't want to see that anymore. They want to see an economy of a molecule, right? Going changing hand to hand.
That's right. That's a great way to describe it. Yeah. It's not quite cradle to grave like REPRA has, where like you have to have this birth certificate and death certificate at the other end and every stop along the way. It's not quite that bad. It's more like the IRS, where they understand refrigerant is fungible, right? Like you don't know which molecule went in and came out, right? So but they need to know how many pounds went in and out. So you're not tracking the actual molecule, you're tracking the pounds or ounces. And so, but you do have to track that. I bought it here. I installed it into a system here. I recovered it there. I went to a reclaimer there. And this is what I have in my inventory. Like you got to know that stuff.
Well, and I'll tell you from years in this industry, if you start doing that as a contractor, you're going to make more money. Because you're all losing money based on inability to know what refrigerant's actually been transacted.
100%.
In our industry, it's rarely going to be the venting that they catch you on. Now, I will say, it's the paperwork. And I will say, for those of you who aren't doing this correctly, and I don't just mean the documentation. I mean, if you're venting out there or you're using a bucket as a recovery tool, you are going to get a violation. It's going to happen. Everybody's walking around with a high def video camera in their pocket. That, by the way, if you're wondering, it hasn't happened. Oh, it has happened. It was already happening years ago. There are cases in the regs where video recording happened, and that's how they got people, because somebody stood there with a cell phone.
Yeah.
So, and you can try to love this. You can try and say, "Oh no, I just put nitrogen in. I was just purging nitrogen. It happened to, there's still oil in there. So that's why I had some of that mist going on. I mean, I've heard that. Oh, okay. Yeah. You know what the next question is? Totally could be legitimate. That's might be what's on this film. So you already got their attention. They're not going to leave. Right? They're going to say, okay, well, let's look at, that's no problem. Let's look at the documentation. You recovered it. That was just nitrogen. So show me the recovery record. Okay, cool. Where's that cylinder? Oh, no, you already gave it to a wholesaler? Okay, where's the documentation? Hey, well, what about the gas you put into the system after you nitrogen purged it? Where'd that come from? Can you show me that record?
Yeah, so
Fail.
like two things, right? You've got are you doing the stuff that's physical correctly? The actual procedural stuff is being done correctly. And then can you prove you did it in the documentation side?
Yeah.
Because both are violations,
That's right.
both of them.
And you're right, Les, you mentioned it a little earlier. $59,114. Everybody goes, well, what's that up to these days? It's inflation tied. It's a pain to go figure out where they put this and hide this in regulations. I finally figured out how to dig it out. It escalates regularly at interval, and so that's where it is right now.
Per day per violation.
Yeah, and even bigger. We talk about those numbers a lot, and I think one of the bigger things on a higher level is whenever you get a fine, like you said, now you're open to it. They're not going to go away. Now you become partners with the federal government, with your local government.
Very specific.
You now become partners until you remedy those violations.
That's a good.
And then typically, or quite a bit after, because they're going to
That's
continue to dig into your shorts. That's right. You look at the list and the violations, the repeat names. That's what's shocking. You're like, okay, they went after him, and then they went after him, and then they went after him. Once you're in, they don't let you go.
Yeah.
Like a dog with a bone, they're going to hold on to that thing until it's gone.
So many times when we see somebody with a violation that we've talked to, or we're helping through these kind of things, it doesn't always come down to a number. Oh, we'll settle for this amount because it is $59,000 a day, but we understand the burden of that. So we'll reduce that with these caveats. And so it's the caveats that you're partnering with them until those are resolved in your processes. That's when you're then
Like
able to get forward.
like the market in New York, I believe in New York, $400,000 they reduced it down to in cash for $13 million in equipment upgrades.
Yeah,
that's
For Mount Carr, Washington. This is all serious stuff that we all need to.
And what's funny about the states is it's never the state, one of the ones that was violated in New York. Oh, it's like, hey, by the way, did you guys know that these guys are doing something wrong? Do you want to get them on your side too? And they tag team you. Anyway, so I wanted to get this out there. There's a ton more on this because we could do the entire podcast forever on regulations and how to comply and what's going on in the industry. We try not to do that. We want to keep it light, but I do. This is so important. It's so important. We had to get it out there. It's now. It's true today. It's not a future thing. You're already not in compliance for doing it. So we're not trying to scare you. It's just the reality. Right?
now you know.
Now you know. So there you go. Come back to us again. Time we're gonna have some new guests coming on, so it should be fun as usual. But thanks for joining us. Chill Under Pressure. I'm Adam.
I'm John.
Nonetheless.
We'll see you next time.